tonight. We have a new member, in addition to visitors and guests. Don, you want to stand up and introduce yourself to the rest of the guys and tell us a little bit about you?
Hi, I'm Don Scribner. I've been in Springfield area about 3 years. I spent about 20 years accumulating all kinds of woodworking stuff, and then we moved from a house into a townhome and had to get rid of almost all of it. So been here, and I found out that Habitat for Humanity has a workshop, and I've been kind of schooling with Les. You know, we've got machines there, and so I got back into woodworking a little bit with other people's equipment. So
Okay, that sounds cool.
that's been pretty much my thing. So,
Welcome to the club.
Thanks for coming tonight.
Yes.
Thanks for coming.
That's very good. Okay, and one other guest, Mr. Dan Holland. Please, stand up and tell us who you are.
Well, Bob Fox is the evangelist.
I know we're here.
Bob and I were talking about CNC machines, and he said, well, come on out to the Woodworkers Club. So I'm here. I've had a stroke, and so my speech is a little slow. But other than that, I'm okay. Been around Springfield since 1969. And in fact, I remember coming to the Woodworkers Club before it was a club, I guess. Dwayne Higgins
Okay.
from way back when.
Remember Dwayne?
Get my thoughts in order here. Bob is the evangelist, and so here I am.
Welcome. Thanks for coming tonight. Good to meet you. Okay, do we have any other new members that hasn't introduced himself? I see a lot of faces we haven't seen in a while, and I think the reason for that is COVID. And I sure am glad that it's on the way down, and I sure am glad that we've had a chance to keep the club going, and we'll continue to keep it going, and hopefully everybody will have a lot more chances to show up in the future. Okay, let's see, visitors, treasurer's report, Steve Verhulst.
Well, we're doing good. We'll have a few miscellaneous expenses yet probably in December, but we probably should end the year with about $4,300 in the account. And we started the year with about 45, had a little come in, had a little go out.
Okay.
We're in good shape.
Okay, I think he'll have a detailed report in the January meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, it'll be a 2-year report because, you know, COVID kind of knocked the club down along with everything else in society. So one of the things that we did do was for calendar year. Come on in, Eric. Okay, we got 27 guys. All right, let me write that down. What's another one? We did not have dues for calendar year 2021, and the reason why was because we knew we weren't going to be doing a whole lot of activity, and the right thing to do was to not charge dues if we weren't going to have meetings, and we didn't have training seminars and all the other things that we do. So we had a 2-year run on dues, and we had a 2-year run on just about everything else. So dues for 2022 are due in January, and we'll be getting all of that out to you, to the club shortly. Okay? All right, anything else money-wise? No? Okay, old business. Lon Scott, can you talk about your, what we're
Sure,
doing with you?
Curtis. Nancy and I are moving into one of the Fair Hill residence duplex cottages, and that's probably, ours is probably gonna be available about in February, but in the meantime, December 11th, Saturday, December 18th, Saturday, we're having a huge auction each time out at the Sanger Auction Center at Greenview. Now, I'm selling pretty much, you can't imagine, everything this time. He's sending around I just took that picture today of, that isn't even all of the middle cabinets, but, okay. There are, let's see, a new jet bandsaw, 14-inch, a new roll sander like the, what they used to call a sand flea, only this one is much more elaborate. A new scroll saw, jet, a new Powermatic, the big fan that's the dust collector that hangs from the ceiling. All of my pin turning and pin sets. I think I've got maybe 15 or so packets of titanium 10-carat that's never been opened. My lathe, it's a jet, mid lathe.
Go back behind you.
Power tools, hand tools, all the different things that you could imagine, plus eclectic art, sporting goods, guns, ammo, maybe 1,000 rounds of 9mm, if anybody's shooting any 9mm. On and on and on. I'm gonna take no more time, but it's gonna be a good auction. We have a pod right now in our driveway that we're filling. This one's about 2/3 full. And I'm lining up some help tomorrow night. We're gonna move a bunch of things, and it's gonna be really a good auction. We just have to do it. We're going down to 1,100 square feet. It's all brand new, but everything will be taken care of, and it's just time for us at our age to do it. So thank you for letting me explain that.
Okay, very good. Okay, we've had another guest come in.
Yes, Greg Harwood, with
Okay.
Sangamon Reclaimed.
Oh, okay, Greg Harwood, all right.
And I apologize, I thought it was 6 and 7, not 5 and 6.
It used to be, but they moved us up. And, what was it, about 6 months ago, they moved,
Oh, okay.
they moved us up, so.
We'll see if we can get you.
Well, John Colley pitched you guys heavily, and here I am.
Okay, all right, that's cool. Are you interested in joining?
Yes,
Okay, here you go. Need to fill one of these guys out.
thank you.
Okay. So you're the new owner of Sangamon Hardwood?
I am, yes.
Okay, well, we want to talk to you
I don't
about
wanna
that
show this
after.
to my wife.
All right.
Think you can organize a shop?
All right. Okay. Let's see, where was I? Okay, Lon Scott, Christmas party, Wednesday, December the 1st.
Roland's not here tonight. Roland is for those of you who don't know, Roland Folse, a longtime member of the club, is a member of the Island Bay Yacht Club here in town, down by the lake. And the last couple of years, we've had our December holiday party there at the club. If you've never been to Island Bay Yacht Club, the food is excellent, the ambiance is incredible, and he's nice enough to allow the club to be his guest there. So what we have arranged is a buffet-style dinner, butler passed hors d'oeuvres at 5:30, a cash bar. Dinner will be served at 6:30, and it'll start with a crostini, sorry guys, topped with goat cheese. It's a real nice salad, okay? Let me leave it there. Okay, a mini crab meat stuffed phyllo dough, and prosciutto will be the two passed hors d'oeuvres. A buffet-style dinner with a tossed salad, roast pork loin, and grilled salmon, and a cheesy casserole potatoes, sauteed vegetables, and rolls and butter, iced tea and coffee, and 2 choices of dessert. Guys, if that doesn't appeal to you, nothing will. So,
Catered by MCO?
no. It's cooked up by Island Bay Yacht Club. And what we would like for you up here, if you would like to come, if you know you'd like to come, just circulate it through the room. And
sign up for you and your spouse, so I have, so we can count heads, and we'll just go from there. So, I'm really looking forward to it. It'll be, technically, I guess it'll be my last night as president. So I'm kind of really looking forward to it. And, not because I don't want to be president, because it's gonna be a real nice night, and it's a holiday spirit and what have you. Okay? So, circulate that through the room if you will, and, we'll get rolling on that. Okay. The next item that I have down here before we get into the program for the evening and other new business and what have you is elections. Okay, before we get into elections, does anybody have anything else they would like to announce or talk about, or got a problem or whatever? You got about half of them on this side?
Yep.
Okay, all right. Just take a ballot and pass it along. We'll see how many we need. Okay, I have a stack of pens here, if, for anybody who needs, wait, two here. Two here. Okay.
Hey Curtis,
Yes.
if I can just make a couple of quick comments.
Sure.
One, I'd like to thank you for the work that you've done over the last year, plus, keeping things together during some very trying times.
Okay.
I know this was probably not the year you envisioned, to become president of the club, and probably expected it to be a completely different venue than how you had to run a meeting.
Right.
Good job.
Yeah.
And I also want to commend Dustin on the work that he did on the website, took a look at it last night, looks great. I've been away from the club for about a year, this is my first meeting here in quite some time. And it's just nice to see that, you know, we've managed to sort of adapt and move some things electronically and start communicating, you know, over social media and with the website, so well done, both of you.
Okay, thank you very much, I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, yes, Terry?
They're
Yeah.
scattered around.
Okay, all right. Okay, anybody else? Okay, yes, Steve?
Just for clarity's sake, and the way things have developed this year, Bob Booth would like to be treasurer.
Well, I told them I would withdraw, because I just didn't know if you wanted to do it or not. So, yeah.
Otherwise, I would say the same.
Yeah.
Okay,
But a lot of times people do it because they don't know if anybody else would. You know what I mean? So that was kind of the whole purpose of that.
all right. So, this is what we need to do. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 positions that, somebody needs to be elected to. There's no reason to, nominate and elect me to be immediate past president, because that's a natural progression. And the office of president, the way we're set up now, is actually a 2-year deal, 3-year deal, if you do it from the beginning, because you get yourself elected to vice president / president-elect the first year, which is what Dustin is now, and then you automatically become president next year, and then you become automatic immediate past president the year after that. So Dustin and I are in, so we don't have to have an election for those 2 positions. But we had nominations last month with the group, and we got an almost completely full slate. We have open right now vice president, president-elect. So officially, I think what we need to do is to open the floor for nominations. Is there anyone who would like to be nominated for this year's vice president / president-elect? If you would like to do it, raise your hand and we'll get you nominated, okay? If not, we'll just go ahead and leave it open because it's open right now. Okay, I'm seeing no hands, so we should, yes?
Is it an important position? If it is, I'll put my name in. I guess what I'm asking, Dustin, is do you need a hand?
It doesn't matter either way.
Okay.
It's all good. So.
Okay. All right, so then should we close the nominations for vice president, president-elect? Okay? Technically, I guess they were never open. Okay, all right. Treasurer, we had 2 nominations last month. Bob Booth called and said, or sent me a text message, I guess, and said, say, listen, I would like to either be a treasurer or a member at large, one of the two. So we put his name in for nomination last month, along with Steve Verhulst, who is our current treasurer. Okay, and Bob, you would rather be member at large this time?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
that's cool. All right, so, is there any other nominations for the office of treasurer? Anybody else? Okay, so if we only have one person nominated for a treasurer, I guess we just go ahead and say, let's elect Steve Verhulst by acclamation.
Amen.
All right, okay. Looks kind of formal to me, guys. Congratulations, you're back up. Okay, all right. Hey, we're a real informal group around here. For those of you guys who are new, I had this conversation with Rich a couple weeks ago. This is the most practical bunch of guys I think I've ever run around with. I was in the JCs years ago, and I did Dale Carnegie years ago, and you know, this is just a real unique sort of group of guys. So, yes.
One question, is he enjoying that new car he got this year?
I don't know. Did you get a new car?
It does move fast.
Oh, okay. All right, that's cool.
This Here at 80 miles an hour in South Dakota, it really likes.
Okay, all right, okay, newsletter editor. Dave Kolaski is our current newsletter editor. He had business with the medical people today and is not here, okay? There was no other nominations for newsletter last month, so I should ask, is Dave was nominated? Is there anyone else who would like to be a newsletter editor? Okay, officially, we don't have anybody who is interested, and that's fine. Do I hear a motion to elect Dave Kolaski as newsletter editor? So moved. All in favor? Aye. Anybody against? Nope, okay. Dave is in. All right, I'll call him tomorrow. And webmaster. We had one nomination last month for webmaster, Terry Tuttle. And so I need to ask, is there anyone else who would be interested in being a webmaster? Any other nominations for webmaster? Okay.
I don't know, Dustin's proven himself.
That's what I thought.
He has proven himself quite nicely, I have to admit. Okay, so seeing none, can we have an acclamation vote for Terry Tuttle for webmaster? All those in favor? Aye. Okay, any opposed? No? Terry, congratulations, you've been elected. Okay, now, we have currently 3 members at large on the board of directors. They are Steve Gage, Norm Kerner, and Ralph Winch, okay? At last month's meeting, we had a total of 5 gentlemen who were nominated for member at large. Mr. Bob Booth, Mr. Bob Steimel, Mr. Frank Raymond, who has a prior commitment on Tuesdays, so he's not here, Mr. Norm Kerner, and Ralph. Okay, Ralph Winch. Okay, so we have 5 guys, and I put together a ballot. And what we would like for you to do is to write, okay, wait. Are there any other nominations for member at large? Okay, and seeing none, we should close nominations for member at large and move on to actually electing 3 members. Did everybody get a ballot? Okay, everybody got a pen? What we would like for you to do is to write 3 of the 5 names here. Norm, Ralph,
Here, I'm
Bob
sorry,
Booth,
let me-
Frank Raymond, or Bob Steimel, okay? First names will work except for Bob and Bob. Okay, so everybody has a nomination form?
There you go.
Okay, and everybody got a pen? So take a minute. What we'll do is I'll just collect them and, I gotta write up my ballot. Okay. Sure. Okay, all right, let's, fold them over and,
You want to hold it?
I'll make sure you mix it up.
okay.
Okay, well, thank you.
Okay.
Oh, he's, I already gave it to him.
Drop a ace in there.
All right, there we go.
I mean, some.
All right. So, I need,
You want to count those during the presentation?
huh?
Surely not this organization.
Yeah, okay. All right,
Well, this was one of the.
so I'll just set these over here. Okay, I'll count these up. Why don't we move into presentations? We got about an hour and 5 minutes. Okay. Okay, so there's nothing else that anybody needs to talk about or bring up, right? Okay. Let's move into the program for the evening. We have Mr. Bob Fox, Mr. Bob Leffler, and Mr. Dennis Gross, who has something to present to us, okay? Anybody want to volunteer to go first?
I can, I guess.
Okay.
And yours was Allie's computer, right?
Yeah, let's do this, yeah. Okay, I started out, well, son-in-law was like, you know, hey, I think my daughter would like this, you know, don't have enough time. You wanna make this? So you wrote me into making this. My granddaughter is, junior in college and she just got an apartment and, figured she needed a desk and she needs a desk, to, do her computer work, so I took the plans that son-in-law gave me and kind of made my own, so. And this is, I forgot to take this part of it whenever I started it. So, you know, it's halfway in the process of painting, so I remember to take a picture. What this desk is a breakdown desk, and it breaks down in 5 pieces. So they just take them and just, you know, slap these pieces together, put a couple screws in, you're done. So it's easy to move around. Those were the legs, as you can see here. You know, and what I made this out of was I had a bed that had bed slats in, and you know, I got a different bed, so I had all this laying around. So, and you made these here, and this is I think 3/4 inch dowel, and drilled that, and then cut this. I think the top and bottom is I think a 7-degree angle. I'm not sure. And this is just kind of prepping it out. Once I got the legs made, I just kind of, you know, clamp these boards up to see how it fit. Okay. And that's another one showing that it's all clamped up, and that's just plywood laying in there. Okay. And then here's the bottom. This I made for her legs, you know, naturally. So, and this is supported by that pine. And here's the cutouts here. I just snap on that 3/4 inch dowel. That goes on the bottom. And there it is, kind of like, that's the bottom, you know, laid out. And then the top. And this was too big here, so I kind of, I thought would rub your legs, so I cut that out. And then this is, you know, for drawers, platform for drawers later. Okay. And there it is showing that how it's snapped in place here. And here, you know, just laying on its side, you know, I snapped it in. Those just set in there. Okay. This, now what the original plans called for was on that one piece that the second shelf that just dropped on that
that dowel rod. They just showed a platform coming out there for a computer, for a desktop computer. Who has a desktop computer nowadays, especially in college? So this is the actual top. I bought some computer slides there, and set that up and laid that out so she can pull it out, use it, push it in, use the desk for writing or whatever, and go from there. Okay. This is the drawers that go on those two platforms that was in a picture earlier. And there it is, kind of assembled, with, this roughly assembled with that, and then the drawers, and then this part just sat on. Now, I made a mistake, they called it making it out of plywood, and it was all rough edge, so I didn't like that, so I trimmed this plywood in oak, and the ends, and I made this, the back and the front on the top, on plywood, and I made it so they just fit over top of that, the legs there. And as I put it together, it's hard to see, but they wanted you to get underneath and screw it in there, and then take, I figured, she may want to take this up and down and move it, whatever, so I just put, some screws in the front there, they're coated screws, and they're kind of like a brass color, so they look real good on it. And these are the drawers, and by having this here, this lip that's down, these drawers here, I didn't want these drawers to slide out, so I made some drawer stops on that. And the trick to that is you want to make sure you put those in before you put the top on. Made that mistake. Okay, that's what I finished it with. Just had some old, satin paint left over, and I just went ahead and painted it with that. Okay, and there it is in the painting process, all the different pieces laid out. That's that one. Okay, and there it is, kind of finished on my shop. Put some handles on it, and and slides and all that. Next, and there it is with the drawers open. I wanted to make those big enough so that you put like a ream of paper, notebook, or whatever. So I did, and then they stopped pretty good for it, it won't fall out on it. Okay, and there she is in the, the posing for it in the living room there. And the last one, I just sent a text to her and says, hey, I'm going to give a demonstration or a presentation on this. Would you take a picture of it? So there it is in use. It's good and sturdy. You can hold her printer. She's got her laptop on top and all her books down there and paper. And it seems to work out real good for her. And I told her, I said, that's exactly what I want. She told me she even dusted for that picture. So that's pretty good for a college kid.
That's right.
But that's pretty much about it. I mean, the size on that was, I think, around 5 foot by, I think it was like 28 inches or something like that. So it was a small desk, but yet, pretty good to move around. So, but
Very nice.
It worked out pretty good. Okay.
Great.
Tell you what, will you two guys stand up? I'm gonna sit down.
All right.
Find the mouse pointer somewhere on the screen here.
Okay, it's my turn. All right, that's cool.
Who's going next?
Let's see, did you need some help on that, Bob?
Tom's gonna give me some help.
Okay, there you
Not
go.
that I didn't wanna hear what you're saying.
Okay. All right. Bob is going to bring in a Chinese wheelbarrow. That,
Yours was the stool. This one right here is yours, Bob?
Bob, this one right here, that one's yours?
No.
No,
That's
no,
another
no.
show and tell.
No,
No, on the file.
it's this one, right?
Yeah, those slides are mine.
Okay. We have couple show and tell things. Okay. All right.
You.
I got a question on the previous.
Yeah.
Where did you say you got your pattern for that?
some magazine, it's not, well, actually it was started out by a high school kid, made it for his, he made it, it was all just kind of rough thrown together, and I kind of did it, but I'll get back to you on that. I don't remember offhand. It wasn't Woodsmith, it wasn't any of those. It was maybe in Poplar Woodworking. And I didn't have the book, so I looked online. He found it, I looked online, so computer desk, check that out, and I'll try to get back to you, next meeting.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay.
I got another project I can work on between now.
Okay. But check Poplar Woodworking out, just put in the computer desk,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
see what comes up.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
These are against the wall. The only thing I can do is move some chairs out.
No, I'm talking about stuff here.
Oh, this, yes, yes. Sorry. Yep. Okay.
Chinaman push stuff? Want me to go next?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I brought this in because it probably is something you've never seen before. My neighbor, who's a master carpenter, said he's never seen anything like it. It's a wheelbarrow, obviously. There are no metal fasteners anywhere on it. It's all put together with tongue and groove, wedges, wood loops, and it's highly decorated. It is from China. A relative bought it in China and brought it over as a part. He was a retired, was a petroleum engineer, worked for an Australian company in China for 30 years. Came back, retired, brought a 35-year-old Chinese wife with him, a dog, and a Chinese cat named Stir Fry. Best cat name ever. Unfortunately, the dog, the cat, and unfortunately Rich, his name was Rich Wharton, passed away. And so Jolly, his now widow, was living in northern Michigan where they retired. He was my wife's brother-in-law's brother. So we have gotten to know Jolly really well. Because we helped, in fact, he passed away, his brother passed away, and my sister-in-law passed away all within 2 years. And we helped him settle the estate. So that's why it's here, because she is now living in a 2-bedroom apartment and has this furniture that came from China spread out to all kinds of friends. We eventually will try to sell it. We think we have no idea what it's worth. That's one of the things that we need to find out before we put it on the market. But it's truly unique, and I just thought, as long as it's here in Springfield, that I ought to bring it in and show you guys. Yeah, it's all hand done. The only thing that's metal is the axle.
Any idea when it was made?
We think it's 200 to 250 years old.
Wow.
it's highly decorated, and the only,
Painted on the sides of it?
yeah, it's painted on the sides in, yeah, it is.
Oh, wow.
And if you look at the structure of it, it's really well engineered.
What kind of wood do you think it is?
I have no idea. That would be a great puzzle, wouldn't it? There are saw marks on the underside of the bed, but other than that, it looks like it's all been hand hewn. Yeah, I've got some detailed pictures of.
We're gonna put this in the newsletter, okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's an amazing.
And whereabouts in China did they find it?
Beijing.
In Beijing.
They lived in Beijing, and him being on call 24/7 as a petroleum engineer, he worked for an Australian petroleum firm. They had a driver, a limousine or a car that they never drove themselves anywhere. They had really a class of living that is substantially higher than you would expect.
I thought you did that.
Yeah, I've been hiding it from him.
Hiding your talent. Yeah, so now someone needs to build a replica. That'd be a challenge.
And that'd be a big
Yeah,
challenge.
yeah. Oh,
Because by the time you think you had it right, when it finally came into that final sentence, I wrote it.
What would be the common woods that you would find in that part of China? Do they have a variety of oak, I would assume?
I would assume, yeah. They also lived for a while in Chengdu, which is a town you've never heard of, that has 3 million population. And you can actually get direct flights from San Francisco to Chengdu. But it's kind of interesting, his firm paid to bring all this stuff back. They had a 5,000 square foot house in Northern Italy, all kinds of Chinese furniture. So we've got a screen, it's a hand cut screen that is almost 10 feet tall. That's at our daughter's house in Naperville. And that'll probably, those are the 2 most valuable pieces, was the screen and that.
If it was 200 years old, I don't know, what was the last Chinese dynasty? I think. So did they have a hassle bringing this back? Going through customs or either out of China or into the United States?
Not the furniture, the dog and the cat were the big issue.
Okay.
And having to quarantine for a month. Once they brought it back, it was 5 figures to get the dog and the cat back.
Oh my. That's dedication to cat.
That damn dog. They really love that dog and cat. But his company paid for it. That was the crazy part. They paid for all the shipping and any expense to come back as a retiree. They did. So, yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, guys, somebody robbed our tray jack stand, but we need it.
That's all right.
Sorry, yeah.
We're okay.
This one down there too.
Okay.
Well, I just need the one that.
Any other questions or comments? I have to admit, in the 6 years I've been in this club, that is probably one of the most unique things I have ever seen. So, yeah, that's really cool. Okay. Looks like we're gonna have plenty of time tonight. Bob, are you ready? Anybody else?
I am.
Okay. Let's see, can we move this? See if we get this out of the way a bit. There you go. Move it up.
Break it, you buy it. has taken me a long time to make. One of the members of Westminster suggested I build something for the church, a stool or something like that. And this dates back to 2004 when I started that. I'd built my own CNC machine. It was back in the 1990s. And this is one of the first projects I made on it. And I laid it out using AutoCAD. And it's not like the programs now where you can put everything together. And so all of these different cuts had to be made individually. So like I say, this is the prototype that I use. And from this, we'll see how I changed it. Now, I don't know, how many guys build prototypes before they make something? Okay. Well, I'm not
Just throw the first one away, that's all.
Huh? I held on to it. Right here, the first one. I dug that, I just saw that in the basement. I got a basement in my shop, and I was down there looking for something else. And I thought, my God, I didn't throw that thing away. There were some other pieces that didn't get in here from the car. But anyway, that was my prototype. And I can never finish a project, because you see something, and there's always an improvement you can make on it. And then you make that improvement, and you go on. So we'll see that here. But anyway, this is the prototype. Go ahead, next slide. And that's, it's just cut out, just rough lumber. This I was afraid of would be, and it already broke, it's just a regular piece of plywood, and it's stable this way, but it's flimsy, so that had to go. All right, next slide. This is the final product of what I made. And we've got it over there, so we'll set it up here. We can go ahead and set that up over here in that door. So some of the improvements that I made from that. All right, next slide. We'll show you the different views. That's side view. All right, next. All right, now, some of the details of it. After I wanted this to look like, what is it called, lattice?
Lattice work?
But I wanted it to be something special, and I didn't want just a lattice. So I thought, oh, I'm gonna do crosses. But I didn't want them to be immediately recognizable as crosses. And I thought, you know, if it's around for a long time, people will recognize it, you know. Well, I've been looking at that thing for 2 years, and I didn't realize that those were individual crosses. Another detail that I did is the way I put the legs on, because I wanted this thing to last 100 years. I've got Baltic birch plywood for the top, and I used, and I even brought some in, but they didn't make it all the way in here, T-nuts onto the Baltic birch plywood, half-inch plywood. And this has got a threaded rod all the way through these with it. And it's carved out, go ahead, next slide. And here I covered this with high density. They scooted around, it won't scratch. But anyway, it's recessed, there's a washer and the nut for that threaded rod. So that's pulled on there tight, so it.
I can line bore that long piece.
Huh? Oh, thread, you can buy threaded rod, 6 foot
No, I can
pieces.
drill the hole there.
Yeah.
18 inches.
And the pieces that I had for that I left, but actually I cut a slot in it in the rough piece. Some of the other things that I did on it is this, I laminated 2 pieces of oak with the center, and in other slides you'll see it more obvious, that there's walnut in between, laminated that gives it some stability. All right, next slide. And on the inside of the lattice, I had a matching, on the outside is oak, as you saw, and this is walnut. And I initially was gonna put glass sandwiched in between that. And the choir director, Dale, said, well, unless you've got light inside shining through that, it's not gonna be that obvious. So he happened to have this fabric that he had a chair or something that somebody had given the church. He says, I've got some extra of that. So then I ended up taking the fabric, wrapping it around a piece of thin plywood, and then laminating that in between that. There we go. So that worked out pretty well. The other thing that I did, as you can see, this picture was on a bulletin of Palm Sunday back there, either in the late 1990s or possibly the first part of the 2000s. But it was on Palm Sunday, Jesus riding in to Jerusalem on a donkey. And Zacchaeus, you can't see him from this. I'd taken these pictures last night, and it's kind of hard to see it through there. But anyway, I carved that, I converted that to a line drawing, and carved it out, and then I wiped in gold leaf paint into it, and then I had to sand all that off to leave the drawing on it. Next slide. This shows you kind of a detail of the leg, and then I had to carve out this is a cross then on two of the outside sides of it. Go back to that previous if you can. This gives you here you can see the laminated where the walnut is in between it, the oak pieces. And then on the edge, to hide the grain, I put a piece of walnut on either side of that. Okay. This shows the detail here because I had to hide, obviously, the nut and the washer in there, and then this worked out pretty well here because it protect the floor, plus it hid how I put it all together. Any questions on it?
How'd you fasten that base into?
There's another one in there.
Is that mortise?
Sorry.
Right
There was another one in there.
Yeah, it's just mortised in. I didn't
And just glued?
include, yeah. The prototype's got screws in there, but
Yeah.
but on this, and as solid as it is, especially with that bottom, this thing is really very stable. Yes, sir.
With that drawing with Jesus on the donkey, whenever I've tried that, it's always ended up sanding away the picture. How deep do you do that, or how do you avoid sanding away your picture?
Lucky?
You're lucky.
No, I probably was milled at a 1/16 of an inch deep with a V-bit and filled it in. And I might have scraped it with a scraper just instead of sanding all of it. I don't remember. I can't remember last week, let alone 2004. But that's a good question. I wish these would have been brass screws, but there's a plaque here. I'll show you in a second. They wanted me to sign it. Next photo. said, Christ can be found in places you least expect. And again, I didn't advertise it, it just, I thought over a period of years, people would discover it and so.
You did the little brass plate too, on your CNC?
Yes, I did. And one thing with the CNC, you have to have a level bed to work on, because you're working everything off the top on it.
Bob, this is a project you did for Westminster
Correct.
Presbyterian Church?
And what they're using it now, for the children's serving.
Okay.
That the minister sets on this, and it's certainly stable enough. You can go and take a look at it. But, and they've been using that. Then initially, it wasn't used, and we just sent back in the Belcoir area. But for quite a few years now. Do you have any feeling, Bob, how long they've been using it for the children's sermon?
Oh, we've been going there since 2007.
Okay. Well, it didn't sit back too far, did it? Any other questions?
How often does somebody come up to you and say, hey, that's really cool, thank you for making that?
Not very often. Now, this past weekend, they had an art fair, and I had that on display, and some of the other things that I made, and some photography, and so Bob had a lot of beautiful photography. And then there was attention drawn to all of these art things that the Westminster members have put in. There, last week I had several people come up and make a comment on it, a favorable comment.
Makes you feel pretty good, doesn't it?
Yeah, but the satisfaction of doing it, I guess that's the reward. Cool. Any other questions? I think it's done. I'm working on something, I guess I'm programmed for January, right?
I have to look up.
I think I'm
Yes,
there.
yep.
Well, I've just finished a communion table. I can't tell you the number of hours I had on that, and I'll bring that in. That's gonna be the program for January.
Okay, looking
But
forward to it.
This is nothing to the work I went through on that.
Okay.
But it came out nice.
Yeah, make sure you attend that. I've seen it. It's really, so the rest of the guys, make sure you're here in January. It's really a spectacular piece.
Yeah, it really is beautiful. And there's a story goes with it with Sapwood, Sapwood story.
Yeah, there is.
I'll save that.
Save that for January.
Okay.
All right.
Well, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bob. Rich, we have time for you if you'd like to do yours.
I'll do mine.
Okay.
This is really cool.
I don't know what particular order we're in, but it doesn't make a whole lot of difference. Looks like it's in the order you took them.
Most of you I've talked about. I was presented with a rather unique challenge a couple of years ago. There was an Osage orange tree that was planted by Jonathan Baldwin Turner. He was a professor at Illinois College in the mid-1800s. And the Osage orange that he planted was a male tree. It was planted between his house and a barn in Butler, Illinois. And a number of years ago, the barn burned part of the tree, but it did survive in a weakened state. But it survived long enough for that tornado that hit Taylorville a couple of years ago to knock it over. So Illinois College wanted to do something because he was a professor there, and they wanted to do something with that tree. So at that time, I was president of this club, and unfortunately was the name on the website. So I got a call. They wanted to know if the Woodworkers Club would be interested in doing something. And I came to the club and I asked, and nobody seemed all that interested, so I said, okay, fine, I'll take on the task. At the time, the deal was a bench and 3 gavels. And I said, sure, I can do that. Well, it turned into a bench, 3 gavels, cases for the gavels, 26 walking sticks, 52 ink pens, a chair, and a second bench. So, this is the start of the second bench. The second bench came out of it's a pattern from fine woodworking, and I've learned my limits, folks. This has been a real challenge. I think it's probably an advanced plan for woodworkers, and I'm muddling through, but I'm getting there. But some of you may have heard it's a Lucan's bench. I don't know if that's, I don't know anything about that, whether that's a particular style or what, but at any rate, I didn't have a whole lot of wood to work with. The longest piece I had was 67 inches. And the plans called for 68-inch seat boards, seat slabs. So I had to do a little bit of cutting down, cutting back. I cut the plan down about 4 inches. The plan also was intended for 1.5 inch cypress. I have 1.5 inch wood. At best, 1 1/8. Though I made some accommodations for that as well. But at any rate, this is the start of one of the back legs. And you can kind of see what I was working with here. It was pretty rough stuff. We've got splits, we've got burned pieces in the wood, and all that kind of good stuff. Go ahead to the next one. I took some tracing paper and traced out the pattern, and then used some spray adhesive and glued it to a piece of wood, and found another piece of wood that was as clear as I could find it, that was about the same size, and put that together with sticky tape, double stick tape, and then I cut it out on the bandsaw. That's the back end of the bench, okay? That's just another angle of it. Go ahead. The plans called for floating tenons. I didn't have anything to make floating tenons with, let alone the mortises or anything else. So I decided I'd pin it together with 1/2 inch dowels. And in order to get my dowels straight, I made a little wooden template, and I used it to drill the holes. Those that I could drill on drill press, I did a pretty good job. Those that I had to use the hand drill on, most of them fit, so I guess I'm okay there. Go ahead to the next one. That's the dry fit. That's the back end of the bench, the front. This is the frame. And mostly I set it up to make sure things were going to work, and also to get my measurements across here for the rails and the stretchers and all that good stuff, because since I had to cut it down, I wasn't exactly sure what my measurements were going to be. We'll go ahead to the next one. Again, drilling the end pieces. It was a bit of a challenge, to say the least, but I had some clamps that I could clamp my template on the end of the board with, and then I used the hand drill to go ahead and drill holes for the dowels, okay? That's what the bench is supposed to look like when it's done. And I'm getting there. It's been a work in progress, but it's moving along. Let's go to the next one. That's kind of what it looks like without the back slats. It's all dry fit together. Nothing's glued yet. And now I've got to get the back slats back here. So eventually, hopefully, I'll have a completed picture that I can bring back and show you that I did make the thing. Regardless of what it looks like, it was made.
It looks nice. Rich, how long is that?
That is from the seat boards are 68 inches or 64 inches. 64.
So that's more than 5 feet.
Yeah.
So you've got a 6-foot pipe clamp on there?
Yeah.
Okay.
I bought, well, actually, it's got an extension on it.
Oh, okay.
It's a 5-foot clamp and I've got a 3-foot extension on it. I had to put an 18-foot one time on those. Yeah.
Couple of
Yeah,
years.
just
So,
stretch
yeah.
them out. As long as you've got couplers and plank, you can stretch them out to any length.
For
Yeah.
repair of a pew at church.
Is Osage orange difficult to glue? Is there something unique about it?
It glues well.
Pardon me?
It glues well.
Okay.
It works well. It's easy to cut. But I've worn out 2 saw blades and 3 bandsaw blades and a set of planer blades on it. It's hard on stuff. It's really hard. But it as long as you don't get cross grain, it machines pretty well.
Okay. And this is probably more of a question for Ralph. Have you ever cut up very much Osage?
Yeah.
Is it,
Yeah.
is it halfway stable? Is it, does it, when it dries, does it want to twist on you? What can you say about
It's
cutting it
harder-
up?
It's harder than Chinese arithmetic. And the grain in on them slats will almost like change direction when you're planing it.
The drier it gets, the harder it gets.
Yeah.
It won't reverse, but I mean, it'll be planing very nicely, and then all of a sudden you hit a patch and it won't plane worth a hoop. And it just gives you a fit.
That's gonna last over 100 years.
Oh, it should, I hope. Yeah.
If you use a Xylus vise set, you use it with a 2x4 of any length you want, so you don't have to worry about bar clamps or anything.
I haven't used one of those, and I don't have 2x4s that long anyway. I always
Okay,
cut
but
mine down.
I'm just gonna mention that
Yeah.
you can get the length whatever you want with the Xylus.
Yeah, yeah, I've seen those before, and I never bought them. I probably could have, should have, because they are useful.
I'm gonna have 4 of them in my auction.
Really?
Okay. Yeah, question?
You might think about not putting those horizontal things, in the back there. I mean, that looks beautiful. I thought those horizontal things were a little distracting. And then the second one was, when you did your dowel jig, towards the end, were you having slot issues where your drill was cutting into your jig?
Yeah, I had a couple of loose fitting dowels, where I didn't get things quite exactly right. What I had to do, when you're drilling into end grain with a hand drill, it wants to go sideways. And I had a couple of those holes, and I solved that by taking a little hand router and putting just a straight bit in it, and just easing that out until it was straight up and down. So yeah, I've got some slop in there. I'm gonna glue everything. It glues well. The wood glues pretty well. So what I'll do is line those pins up and fill it with some sawdust and glue, and then glue the joint together. And it should hold pretty well.
Another way to avoid that is to, get like a copper tubing.
Yeah.
And put that in there inside your wooden duct.
I wish I'd have thought of that before. Other questions?
You can get, and I've made a jig for being able to drill through round pipe in the center. 2 side pieces and of course something across, but then I got a hard, and you can get these any size you want, a hardened steel sleeve, and press that in there. And you can put your drill bit in there and
It
it'll
goes right straight
it'll
through.
keep it right straight down.
Yeah. Well, hopefully I'm not gonna be doing any more of this stuff, but if I do, I'll investigate those kinds of jigs, because it's a challenge.
Well, a lot of those woodworking plans too, they're created with every tool you can imagine in a shop while they draw these plans up and give you pictures and say, that's how you should do it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I've got a lot of tools, but I don't have all of them. So,
Nobody does.
no. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Okay, that's everybody for our regular presentations.
I do have a couple of things up here, that I noticed.
Yeah, I got one too.
Mike has one, okay, how about,
If we got time.
yeah, show and tell, we've got about 25 minutes, okay? So, Mike Gretelmeyer's got show and tell.
There you go. This is a lute that I saw on Instagram, some guy pretty talented. He makes these amongst a lot of other things. So I was curious as to how he did it, and so I sent him a message, and he outlined the basic way it was made. And really, I don't know if there's many turners in here, it's more of a turn project, but it's basically just two bowls. But the way you have to turn them is you start with both your bowl blanks, and you have what would be the
Okay.
You glue them together with double-sided tape, so you got two blocks glued together, and then you chuck it up in your lathe, and you turn the outside of the bowls, and then you've got a tenon on each end of it, which is not pretty, but it's gonna get thrown away. So once you do them together so that they match, perfectly at where they come together. You take them apart, and then you chuck them up individually, and you turn the inside of the bowl. And after that, you take each half while it's in halves, and so it'll lay flat on the bandsaw. And I got a circle the size that I want, so I could draw around it. And then you just cut that out on the bandsaw, and you do it to both pieces and glue them together and sand them up. And I'm not the best bolt turner. Every time I do it, I have to relearn again or call Dan Chevalier and ask him to remind me of something. But it was a neat project. I really enjoyed it. I started out with like a 10-pound piece of hickory and ended up with 8 ounces of.
How do you clamp that together?
I did it about 6 or 8 months ago. Tape, I think, is what I used, just like painter's tape. Yeah. So anyway, neat little project. The guy that makes them, he's got them around his house, and he's big into plants, and he actually grows plants out of some of them and hangs them up in the windows. Pretty neat. So,
Very good, thank you, Mike.
yeah.
Norm has got a show and tell.
I have a daughter-in-law who is far from an alcoholic, but she likes wine. I've asked her to save wine bottle corks from her household and from her relatives and friends. Plus, I've asked a few bars or restaurants for their corks that they just routinely dispose. Some people call these hot pads, or I guess technically they're trivets. I chose to make 2 shapes, and I figure that the pan can overhang this on 4 sides, or a smaller pan might fit this octagon, hexagon shape a little bit better. A hexagon is easier to do with corks than is a octagon. And that's because if you cut them in half or cut them in thirds, as I did here, they just line up in that 30-60 degree angle that's convenient for stacking them in there. So I'll just pass these 2 around. I thought maybe these would make, among other things, good Christmas gifts.
Thank you, Norm. And I did not see who brought this in. Greg.
because there's a guy who looks just like it.
So, how many, Greg Seifert, how many get Family Handyman? One, Family Handyman magazine. How many have a subscription to that? Okay, okay. My wife says I get too many magazines, so I always say, and Family Handyman sends you, hey, here's the latest, you know, for the last 2 years, and oh, I gotta have that, it's only $10.
That's right.
And she said, no, I don't need any more of those. But this design came out of Family Handyman magazine. I think it was last year. I built it last year. And it's just a straight table. I kind of like the lines. You know, every now and then you're looking through a woodworking magazine and you see something, and you say, man, that's something I can build. In my case, it's like, hey, it's not going to be real difficult because my skills are basic. But it was just oak, red oak from Menards. And then this, of course, is tile. And so that was at Lowe's, the tile. And I actually made 2 of these. This one is in our sunroom. And then my daughter needed a table in her apartment. And so that I used the longer tile, 18 inches. And that one, I used the gray stain, that Minwax. I'd never used that before, the gray color stain. I think it's relatively new, maybe the last few years. And it worked out pretty good, because I always like regular stains. I don't care for painting wood or anything like that. But the gray turned out pretty well. But this one is just the Minwax red oak stain. And as you can see, it was real easy to build. It didn't take that much time. And, you know, you can put magazines down there and place for glasses in the sunroom. And just straightforward, but it just caught my eye. And, you know, as far as, you know, Christmas gifts or something and someone needs an end table, hey, that's a nice design. I didn't follow the magazine directly, because I never like to do that. I like to just get the idea from looking at a magazine and then build it myself. People who can look at designs of 5 pages of stuff, cut this, then this, put this screw here, great, more power to them. I give a lot of credit to people who can do that. Me, I got to just build it. And, you know, fortunately, it's not that complex a design. And anyhow, that's the story on that table. Any questions on it? It's straightforward, but it's fast. You can do it in a weekend. I think they make nice gifts. And people always say, well, where'd you get the top? And you tell them, well, it's tile from Lowe's. You know, you can walk on it. Oh, I never thought of that. So every now and then, that Family Handyman has some really good ideas. So
It's all glued together?
yeah, and screwed, glued and screwed, as they say. And nothing, because normally I use the Miller dowels. I love Miller dowels. Does anyone else here use Miller dowels, or am I the only one? And I just love the Miller dowels with a tapered drill bit, and you drill the hole, and you put the glue on the dowel, pound it in gently, cut it off, sand it, and it's fast. And you know, there might be, I mean, if I was better at making mortise and tenon, that's preferable, but you know, if you got to put 2 pieces of wood together and have it look nice, the Miller dowel, you can. But this one, I didn't use the Miller dowel. I just drilled a hole and put a screw in and covered it, because I wanted to get it done fast. Thanks.
And how did you fasten the top, you say?
That is just a straight mastic glue from Lowe's. I forget the name brand, but it's for building homes and putting two pieces of wood together. Get this out of the way. Yeah, that's it, liquid nails.
Yeah.
Do you plan on making any more?
Hadn't really thought about it, but they're fun to do.
Let's say I hired you to make me one, and if you charge yourself $15 an hour for your.
Oh, I'm not that good. I'm not really that good.
Or that fast.
Yeah. I drove my wife crazy because I'm a perfectionist. I had a thing I made back in high school with the shop teacher. It was I think it was modern art, and it looked like a cat or a deer, whatever you wanted, a long piece of wood with the tail broke off. This was years ago. So my wife says, throw it away. I said, I didn't throw it away, I can fix that tail, I can cut another piece. I had to cut 5 different pieces of wood until I was satisfied with the reproduction tail. My wife said, why are you doing this? I said, I'm not gonna throw it out, it has some sentimental value. So I finally got the tail cut right, and then I had to match the stain. It was walnut wood. I find out if you put the walnut stain, Minwax, on the wood and it doesn't look right, use cherry too over that walnut, and then you get that ambiance of 40 years later of what the original looked like. And then you put cherry over the whole thing and it blends in. And you can't tell it's a reproduction tail unless you get about 3 feet away.
Very
But-
good.
This is very close to mission style. If you were
Yes.
to add 3 vertical
Right.
Struts.
pieces on 2 ends.
Yes. Right. And that was from the original design in the magazine. The other one I made was much thinner strips of wood on the bottom, but you're right, absolutely, mission style is what they had. Thank you.
Okay. Next on the agenda, I need to announce the winners. But next on the agenda is items for sale. Did anybody bring anything in for sale?
I've got a 12-inch Delta planer and probably a 6-inch long bed joiner. I'm not sure whether I'm getting rid of the joiner yet, but I have both of those I gotta get rid of. So anybody
Okay.
needs one.
All right. Okay, anybody else? All right. Next month's committee. Oh, I'm sorry.
I was just gonna ask a question of Bob. I say this somewhat tongue-in-cheek, but could you have this cart documented on AutoCAD or SketchUp before you sell it?
I hadn't thought of that. Bob Fox, what do you think?
Or find out when the next Antiques Roadshow is.
Yeah.
See, I wanted to mention that too. Antiques Roadshow would probably really have a lot of cool interest in that.
Yeah.
They probably would.
And what's the guys that drive around on History Channel?
Oh, yeah, Mike and Pickers.
Yes, American Pickers. I don't know if they
That's
ever
a good-
stop by somebody's house that only has one item.
But they're not that far away.
Yeah.
They're just outside of Davenport, Iowa.
Okay.
And that goes in we have a Subaru Outback and that fits, so.
Okay.
That's how I got it here, so.
Yeah.
That's a good thought. That'd be worth the trip to Davenport. I've not seen anything that detailed. I've seen, I've done some research online and there've been similar things that are 200 years old, but I've not seen one that's got that level of strut support in engineering.
Yes.
Question about Christmas parties.
Yes.
Who's the check written to?
Make your check out to the Capital Area Woodworkers Club, okay?
Yeah.
And what we'll do is, we'll collect all the checks and cash and what have you, and then we'll give it to Steve, and Steve will deposit it, and then write Roland, one check to cover everybody, and Roland will take care of paying the total to Island Bay. Yeah, I meant to mention that. There's two other things that I also meant to mention that I have written down here. Don't forget our spouses raffle, okay? Something like this table we just got finished looking at, if you guys wanna put something like that together and raffle it off to one of the members' spouses, that would be cool. So is the planter you brought in. My wife would love that. My wife would find about 25 uses for that, for what you brought in, Mike.
Oh, the moon?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, because you said
He did use it as a planner.
you use it as a planner. My wife would find that use and about 5 other things, without even thinking about it. She would love to have that. So it's that kind of stuff that we do. For those of you who haven't been around to the club, the spouses raffle in December is something that I have always enjoyed seeing the breadth and the width and the ingenuity of all the stuff that we come up with. And even the staff that works these parties comes up to this table that's got all sorts of stuff on it, you know. Where did all this come from? Last month when you brought in that bench, there were 4 people as we hauled that thing in the front door. There was 4 people who stopped and commented, you know. So that's the stuff that we do. So please remember the spouses raffle at the Christmas party next month. And then the other thing I wanted to bring up, yeah.
How many people signed up tonight?
Right now we have 20. There are 20 times 2. Okay, 40 people.
So we're almost.
Yeah, we got room for 2 more couples, okay? But we will also be giving out 6 or $250 worth of gift cards to Lowe's, Menards, and what have you. So those go to the gentleman, and the spouses raffle goes to the wife. And we've got 2 more slots here before we fill up. And I'll be getting back in touch with Ralph and seeing Roland, when we need to get the final number into Island Bay Yacht Club.
You said you want the checks that night?
Yes, thank you. Write a check out to Capital Area Woodworkers Club and bring the check with you Wednesday, December the 1st. 5:30 for cocktails, dinner for 6:30, and whatever meeting that we have and fun that we have, probably be over by 9. Yeah, Steve?
A couple people already paid me tonight, so if anyone else wants to.
Okay, yes, he's,
Go ahead, I can take it tonight.
okay, that's cool too, all right? And guests are welcome, yes, Les?
32 per person?
$32 per person, right, okay?
Is Roland on there yet?
No, Roland is not on there yet, thank you.
Really, just one?
We have one more, we have room for one more. Okay.
You don't want to get
She
busy.
brings her guests.
Okay, he's on there now.
Oh,
Two people.
Okay, 2 people for Roland? Okay. All right. I will call him tomorrow and tell him that he signed up regardless of whether he wants to come or not. Okay, we have the results of the election for members at large. And I would like to announce that the 3 gentlemen who have received the most votes for next year are Mr. Ralph Winch, Mr. Bob Steimel, and Mr. Bob Booth. So. Looks like we're gonna have a great board, and if anybody at a later time would like to be vice president or president-elect, that's fine. Other than that, there's one other gentleman I wanna call up and have him talk about his business, and that's all extemporaneous. We didn't realize you were gonna be here. Does anybody ever have, we got about 5 minutes left, does anybody have any other business or announcement or question or comment or anything? Okay, all right. Would you talk to us about what you do?
Sure. Greg Harwood with Sangamon Reclaimed, a company that was formed by a firefighter, Brian Freeze. Probably a lot of you have had a chance to meet him. Extraordinary individual. And I see really my role more as caretaker of continuing on what he began. We tend to do large items, conference tables, restaurant tables, bar rooms, done a lot of basement bars for people, do barn doors, reclaimed wood as well as hardwoods. We are also building here, at the new location is on Clear Lake Avenue, and we've got a little space now, and so we're adding in an indoor lumber yard. So if you guys need some hardwoods, please come on by. Carry most kinds as well as cookies. Yes?
Clear Lake and what?
2130 East Clear Lake Avenue. It's next to Pomp's Tire, just off of the bridge.
Where is that in relation to the old Kmart?
Way towards downtown.
Towards downtown?
So, yeah, so right before the bridge going over, or the overpass going over the train tracks there on 10th.
So did it used to be that outlet store type thing?
Used to be the Capital Reuse Center.
Yeah.
Prior to that, it was Metzger's Flooring.
Do you have the old place still, or maintain the old building?
No, the old business was sold, or the building was sold, separate from the business, and so we had to go through a move. But Brian was at a point, he'd outgrown the site out there, and so we've got a milling service and kiln drying service and some things like that too. And I'm an original high school woodworker shop guy who talked my shop teacher into letting me take 7 of my 8 hours my senior year in shop. So I was able to make my mom and dad a grandfather clock, which is really kind of my claim to fame, if you would. But I didn't build off of that afterwards, and I'm looking forward to that now and learning and participating. And we're trying to create a community that you guys can just come be a part of, hang out in, grab some coffee, have a beer after hours when no machines are on, etc. And it's a little different than what it was before, but we have the space and we want to do that now. So,
Okay, thank you very much.
Last question. Do you have any use for a sweep gum slab, 4 inches thick, 48 inches in diameter, it's been milled both sides?
sure, bring it on by. But we don't care for sweet gum a whole lot.
Do you have a crew that goes out and tears down barns?
We don't do that anymore.
Okay.
We originally did that, but we do have salvage operations that we'll connect you up with if you've got barns you need to come down. And also, we'll take your wood if you want and turn it into an heirloom furniture piece for you. And also, the salvage guys will make sure that the pieces that you want out of what you're recovering get over to our shop. We've got 2 full-time woodworkers now, 4 part-time. Yeah, it's just starting to build into something where it's not just an idea anymore, and it's not just a hobby. It's a place where woodworkers can come and build a business if they want to.
Very good, thank you, Greg. Very good.
Yes.
I had one other thing. Dustin sent me the how to get into the website instructions.
It went to everybody.
Okay, I went ahead and printed it out. I didn't know if anybody had a chance to look at it yet. You can print it out from your paper, from your computer, and just go through it and get onto the website. It should be very, very easy, okay? And I guess if we've got some new members, how will we get them loaded first?
We'll take care of it.
Okay, that'll go. Okay, gentlemen, I think that's it.